It's Monday.
It's June 30th.
And the word of the day is magniloquent, which means using high-flown language. Used in a sentence, if you write a book about your humble roots called Hillbilly Elegy, and then get a job translating Donald Trump into magniloquent nonsense, you're maganiloquent, and you killed the Pope.
Yeah, can't wait for your next elegy.
Yeah, I'll read it at the funeral.
I'm Noah Lugeons.
I'm Eli Bosnick.
I'm Heath Enright, and broadcasting delayed from America's Far Center, we are the Skepticrats.
On this week's episode, Trump's big beautiful bill gets a parliamentarian diet.
Trump will try to bomb himself into a Peace Prize.
And Matt Gaetz' mom isn't mad, she's disappointed.
She really is. But first, the rest of the intro music.
Joining me for headlines tonight are my fellow Skepticrats, No Illusions, and Eli Bosnick. Gentlemen, I have some very solemn news to start us off. Big Balls has resigned from the Doge.
Oh.
So, any parting words or friendly advice for him?
Turn sideways on the way out to get those balls through. You know?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a big balls joke or a pulling out a Sarah Huckabee Sanders joke, but yes, big balls, yes. All right,
Support either way.
In our lead story tonight, given the time that we write and record the show, I'm not exactly sure what the fate of the big, beautiful bill will be by the time you hear this. But as of this writing, Senate Republicans are scrambling to cut deals with holdouts and appease warring factions within their party in hopes of passing their version of the bill this weekend. And maybe they will. All I can say for sure right now is that if it does pass, it's going to pass like late-night burritos from the Taco Bell you're scared to go to when you're sober.
Yeah, it takes me several rounds of negotiation and a parliamentarian in those moments.
Yes, exactly, right.
It's tricky stuff.
Yeah, and if you're picturing shitting blood onto Marjorie Taylor Greene while she tries to stop you, you're welcome, podcast listener.
That is what I also meant.
Now, it's important to emphasize that Republicans are trying to pass this legislative oligarchy through a process called reconciliation, which for our purposes means two things. It means that everything in the bill has to be budget-related, at least in some feasible way, and it means that the bill can bypass the Senate filibuster and pass with a simple majority, and the Republican majority in Congress is nothing if not simple. It's also narrow as all fuck, that majority, so they can't afford to lose more than a handful of votes if they want to pass this monstrosity, and given that their caucus is too fractious to pass gas, it's not going great.
Yeah, one of the big GOP holdouts is Josh Hawley. It's kind of weird to be on Josh Hawley's side in any way at all. Strange. So right now he's trying to mumble explain to his whole party hey, fucking idiots, the bill is directly taking health care away from millions of our voters. Normally we steal from them a bit less directly with just tax cuts for the rich. Read the fucking playbook. You're fucking
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, the beautiful thing about this bill is if they do desperately, horribly manage to squeeze it through, it's obviously bad for everyone, but it's significantly worse for them and their constituency.
Right, yeah. Now, of course, not helping matters at all is the idiot puppeteer with his toadstool dick caught in the strings. Trump, for no fucking reason whatsoever, has imposed an artificial time limit of July 4th to pass this bill.
So stupid.
Right, there is actually a time limit to pass the reconciliation bill, but I think that's in fucking September or something. So adding an extra one is it's like the challenge they had in the C segment of a reality cooking show.
Now you're all upside down somehow.
Yeah, right. It also doesn't help that he has no actual ideological desires, right? He just wants to pass something that he can claim is big without stepping on a political landmine. So what he's supporting in the moment is an ever-shifting dune where each grain of sand is a different terrible idea.
Also, the dune is a pumpkin on July 4th. You want to pass a pumpkin? No, it doesn't even make sense.
Guys, I don't know how else I can bomb as a distraction from this thing, okay? I'm running out of Middle Eastern countries that your dad is pretty sure were the bad guy when he was a kid. I'm going to have to bomb Genosha next. Do you want me to bomb Genosha?
So one of the biggest stumbling blocks at this point, which Heath has already alluded to, seems to be the funding of rural hospitals. Now, of course, one of the centerpieces of the bill is that it makes huge cuts to Medicaid, $793 billion over the next 10 years, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budgeting Office. And somehow, senators worried about the optics of their constituents' only source of health care disappearing under their watch weren't placated by Trump's chief negotiator on this front, Dr. fucking Oz.
No.
Yeah, he didn't manage to pull off. So now, one of the leading efforts to cover the shortfall is a $15 billion stabilization fund for rural hospitals. But moderate Republican Senator Susan Collins, in a manner that is perfectly emblematic of her shortcomings as the voice of fucking reason, insisted that you can't fill an $800 billion hole with a $15 billion fund.
Sure.
For that, you need $100 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also need a bunch of money for arithmetic teachers in Maine. The numbers just don't work, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the religious schools would just take it, though.
Yeah, but don't worry, Susan. If this passes and plunges your state into a poverty like they've never seen before, I will let the president know how disappointed and shocked I am.
Right. Yeah.
It's so stupid. They're cutting a thing and then building a fund to fund the thing that they're cutting. Just don't cut the thing.
There you go. That
so
solves
convoluted.
And of course, there are also at least a couple of people left in the Republican Party that remain rhetorically consistent in their commitment to principles, which are universally evil, but at least consistent rhetorically. Those would be the budget hawks that are appalled at the way that this bill would add literally trillions of dollars to the national debt. Now, of course, every one of these fucks voted for the tax cuts and shit that put us in the fiscal hole that we're in now. So they're not consistent in action, but they are still threatening revolt over the complete failure of the bill to address the debt.
Yeah, that would be budget hawks like Chuck Grassley and Mitch McConnell.
Right.
Voted for the giant tax cut in 2017, yes, and the Iraq War that also cost trillions of dollars. None of these people are budget hawks. You can't just say stuff. Words have to have meanings. We need the parliamentarian to just like drag you off the Senate floor when you destroy the meaning of words like that.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That'd be so fun. Maybe a team of parliamentarians like the bouncers on Jerry Springer. And
yeah.
What
What are they doing these days? Yeah. Now, of course, the fact that they don't address the debt in any meaningful way doesn't mean that there isn't controversy about the meaningless ways that they address it. One of Trump's few consistent aims is to undo everything Biden did during his presidency, and that includes a number of tax cuts for electric vehicles and EV infrastructure, because, that's fucking pansy hippie shit. But it's also something that companies have already heavily invested in and are counting on, and those companies own a lot of congressmen, so those cuts have become another in this fucking park bench undersides worth of sticking points.
Okay, what do you guys mean you want to keep doing hippie shit? We were just talking about how to kill more hippies at lunch. This year, it's so confusing. It's the most confusing year, you guys.
Right, and so there's also a fucked up dynamic playing out with regards to the preservation of a state and local tax rate called SALT. So once the Senate is done with this bill, they have to hand it back to the House with all the changes in it and get the House to vote on it. But a bunch of the House members that voted in favor of it originally are now in trouble over this SALT thing. And now they're saying that they won't vote for it unless the Senate takes that out.
They learned what salt was.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. From their angry constituents. But none of the states where voters are going to suffer from that have Republican senators. Yeah. So the Senate just doesn't give a shit.
Right. The SALT deduction lets people subtract some of the state and local taxes they paid from their gross income on federal taxes.
Yes.
So the only red voters who like it are living in mostly blue states. And now a bunch of anti-tax, allegedly, Republicans want to make sure everyone gets taxed on the money they used to pay taxes, being like, fuck you and your fancy roads and trash pickup in your blue state, you fucking rhinos.
That's what's happening, yeah. But perhaps the most damning obstacle to the bill came in the form of the Senate parliamentarian, the nonpartisan Senate appointee whose job is to enforce the Senate's rules. And when she looked through the one big beautiful bill, she saw a bunch of shit that can't possibly be tied to the budget and therefore cannot be included in a reconciliation bill. And excised that shit. And despite a bunch of bluster about how she's a mean fucking poopy head or whatever, that shit's mostly gone now.
She is great. Her name, by the way, is Elizabeth McDonough, and pretty much nobody's ever heard of her, even though American democracy is teetering on like just her and her amazing pedantic legal nerd skills in the Senate. The very first thing when she looked at the bill, she was like, yeah, sorry, you can't put courts don't count. I can do whatever I want in fine print in the middle of 1,100 pages.
Right.
Okay, look, I'm not saying I want podcasting to end. I hope we do this for at least 2 weeks after Noah dies. But we do now have a perfect backup job for Heath when it's over, right?
I would love that
board
job.
game rulesing laws?
Yeah.
Elizabeth
Mostly economic
McDonough,
ones?
I will work for free forever. I'll be your
You're a
apprentice.
Padawan.
Yeah.
Sit
There you
outside
go.
in the rain. She doesn't let you inside. But then?
Again, she doesn't let you inside.
Yeah.
But then, a third time, she doesn't let you inside, but maybe.
She actually, that's not the system she uses. She keeps calling the cops.
You learn a fun lesson. You don't get the job at all, but
No.
you get to sit in the rain.
It's a law school thing.
I like rain.
So if and when Trump's signature bill passes, it'll likely only contain a sliver of the terrifying shit that it started with, but since it was entirely made of terrifying shit, that should not comfort anyone. Our only hope really is that Republican lawmakers trip over their own ball sacks so fucking hard that they're unable to do a simple thing even in the absence of meaningful opposition. Which is their specialty, so hey, fingers crossed. And since Republicans are crashing the economy anyway, you're probably looking for a good deal on clothes, so how about a quick word from Quince? Okay, but you can't just bring a gun to water polo.
Then they should specify that in the rules.
Hey, fellas, what's shaking?
Hey, Eli, what's with the bell bottoms?
Are you doing school presentations about not using condoms again? What did we say?
No, all the schools in the area banned me when they figured out my reasons weren't Christian. No, I'm trying to catch up on my fashion sense. So this week, I'm going 60s, baby.
Right. Eli, if you want to look great and feel great this summer, why don't you just try Quince?
Ooh, is that a 60s drug like Anacin?
No. Eli, Quince has all the things you actually want to wear this summer, like organic cotton silk polos, European linen beach shorts, and comfortable pants that work for everything from backyard hangs to nice dinners.
That sounds great.
It is. The best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middleman, Quince gives you luxury pieces without the markups.
I mean, I love a discount, but are they doing it ethically?
They sure are. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes.
But have you actually tried it?
I sure have. Quince sent me a few of those polos to try when they became a sponsor, and they're my favorite. That's why I, Heath Enright, personally endorse Quince.
Stick to the staples that last with elevated essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/skepticrat for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/skepticrat to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/skepticrat.
All right, fellas, thanks. Hey, either of you want a poster for my anti-condom mascot, Randy the Raw Dog?
It's a terrible mascot.
Oh, he tested so well.
What with Heath?
Dogs are the best.
Okay.
And we're back. Next up in headlines in Don't Mess with the Zoran News. Democratic socialist Zoran Mamdani has won the New York Democratic primary for the role of New York City mayor, and we are fucking pumped. Yes, he had to run against a literal sexual predator whose bagel order is hold hot cheese between my hands and eat. And yes, a hint of this progressivism is only possible in the most liberal city in America. And yes, he still might lose to a Republican in a beret or worse, Eric Adams, but this is some motherfucking hope, y'all. And in 2025, we take what we could get.
And rich people in New York City are panicking. Rich people everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's great. They already had several literal rich people in a lair meetings to panic together and figure out what to do for November.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, the end result of the meeting, though, was, hey, look at how much Islamophobia we can collectively afford. By the way, Eli, New York City is nowhere near the most liberals. And, the entire West Coast laughed at you when you said it was the most liberal city in America.
Oh, they actually don't count.
Number 14 or something.
No, they don't count. I don't. Sorry, I should have explained that everywhere that is in New York doesn't count.
If you count the National Guard as part of their voting population, it changes.
That's why it's known as Rock City.
Oh.
Now, podcast listener, you don't tune into our radio program for facts and figures. You tune in for assholes freaking out. Well, luckily for us, the folks over at LGBTQNation.com put together a little freak out compilation for us to roll around in. So let's get started. First up, right-wing journalist Laura Loomer, who you might know for...
journalist? We're saying journalist.
Honestly, Heath, I stared at my headlines note for 11 minutes being like... It can't be just a mean word.
Right wing tied herself to the headquarters of Twitter.
It can. But she took to Twitter to say, quote, at Zorhan Mandami hasn't even been a U.S. citizen for 10 years. He is literally supported by terrorists. NYC is about to see 9/11 2.0.
Yeah.
End quote.
Scary stuff. Maybe the GOP can get Rudy Giuliani into the race. I hear he is available. He could use some work. I mean, he's batting 0 at... preventing 9/11s.
Sure.
But he's got a few cuts under his belt. He went out there. He got some cuts.
It's a little melty, but still, yeah. But here's the thing, though. Hey, the terrorists won 9/11. We should want the winners in charge, right? This is good stuff. We will be the fucking terrorists this time.
I prefer terrorists who win 9/11.
Yeah.
What?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and it actually turns out a lot of bigots really thought a Muslim guy winning a primary was like 9/11. Founder of Turning Points USA and Dark Universe Berries and Cream Lad, Charlie Kirk tweeted, 24 years ago, a group of Muslims killed 2,753 people on 9/11. Now a Muslim socialist is on pace to run New York City, end quote. And transphobic victim of firm handshakes Nancy Mace wrote, after 9/11, we said never forget. I think we sadly have forgotten.
Oh, right. Cool. No, thank you for the reminder, Nancy Mace of Fayetteville, North Carolina. The people of New York City really appreciate that. Everybody make a Post-it so we don't forget.
Yeah. Oh, hey, let's play the same game of substitution. How about this one? 80 years ago, a white man killed 8 million Jews, and today we let a white man be our president.
Yeah. But my favorite freakout has to come from the OG queen of crazy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who tweeted a picture of the Statue of Liberty in a full-body burqa with the caption, "This hits hard."
Okay. So, bigots did their bigot. Not surprising at all. Here's the big picture about Zohran Mamdani. He was up against Andrew Cuomo, who had tens of millions of dollars from Wall Street super PACs. And Mamdani won the primary convincingly, by the way, with TikToks. That's pretty much it. Just went around the city being like, hey, I'm going to take money from rich people and pay for your stuff. And it obviously worked. I'm guessing it's going to work in the general too. I'm hopeful. Helping average people pay for stuff is the most ethical and at the same time majoritarian thing you can do as a politician. I want to hear pretty much nothing but that from Democrats going forward. And even setting aside the policy message, Mamdani's campaign was a perfect case study on media strategy in our new insane information ecosystem. We should teach that shit at West Point. He was great.
Well, until the billionaires that own literally every means of mass communication decide to stop letting people hear us say that, this is going to be our most effective strategy.
They heard us say that.
That's the thing. It's that's a lot of why they want to shut down TikTok, right? Because that's the one thing that their oligarchs can't really just completely control.
I thought it was because of the sheer volume of Bulldog videos I was sending. It's like Grok.
No, everybody
they did the
loves
math,
that.
and they found out that Grok is costing Elon like $100 million a year because people just fact check stuff with Grok now. It's like that's me and my Bulldogs with TikTok.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Fair.
So here's hoping we see a mayoral victory in the coming months and some of those campaign promises, which included, for those of you who are interested, free buses, a municipal rent freeze, taxing the wealthiest city dwellers, no-cost childcare, city-owned grocery stores, a Department of Community Safety for mental health programs and crisis response, building affordable housing, and last but certainly not least, causing even more right-wing freakouts like these ones. That's the important thing.
They are panicking.
Oh,
That's fun. And in Iran, I conquered news.
Fantastic.
Everything was super duper chill in the Middle East. But then Donald Trump got tricked by Benjamin Netanyahu into bombing Iran and destabilizing the entire region and the entire world. In case anyone missed the news about, the entire world being destabilized even more, here's the basic timeline. Right before diplomatic talks between Iran and the U.S. were about to happen, Netanyahu carried out strikes on several nuclear enrichment sites in Iran. The only major site that wasn't hit, called Fordow, is buried under a mountain and only vulnerable to giant bunker busters from the American arsenal. Trump rescheduled the diplomatic talks with Iran after the strike by Israel, but then a few days later, he sent B-2 stealth bombers to hit Fordow with no approval by Congress or cooperation with the UN or intelligence reports to justify it. They didn't even make up a fake report about an imminent threat from Iran. At least have the decency to lie about it. We have a long history of this. Make up some WMDs like George W. and Cheney and Rumsfeld. But no, we're not that ethical anymore, like those three people I just named. And just to be certain the attack was an overtly psychosexual nightmare instead of just a regular psychosexual nightmare, we called it Operation Midnight Hammer.
Midnight Hammer. And if anyone whispers about that motherfucker Toad on my big day, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, here in North Korea, they're already bracing for Operation Some Women Say It's Too Big. Yeah.
So you might be wondering if the overtly psychosexual nightmare bombing was a success.
I was wondering that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, according to Trump, we entirely obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Or we delayed it by a couple months. That's according to intelligence reports, our own intelligence reports after the strike.
Yes.
Or we entirely obliterated it because Trump said it again after that.
And louder.
Or, according to somebody who actually might know, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Fordow is no longer operational for now, but Iran's nuclear program definitely still exists because they probably have covert sites and they probably moved some of their uranium to a different place. And that's just common sense if you're Iran. Everyone saw you bring truckloads of nuclear stuff into the side of a mountain for years, and you claimed it was just a normal power plant, but then international inspectors found a big pile of almost weapons-grade uranium, in the back, and then your mortal enemy bombed your other nuclear facilities, and then Trump started tweeting about big plans coming soon that, I don't know, maybe rhyme with schmunker schmuster, you don't know. I mean, granted, he might have also tweeted, smoke bomb, I'm a ninja, you can't see me, but still. And also, very importantly, as we all know, any decent mountain lair has secret tunnels for moments exactly
Obviously.
like that. Nobody makes a mountain lair without secret tunnels. The contractors won't even let you do. They could lose their license. It's like an OSHA thing. So yeah, the Midnight Hammer was not exactly the resounding success like you might have heard from the administration.
Right. And while it's worth noting that we definitely do not want Iran to have nuclear capacity, the peace talks Trump canceled as a guise for conducting an illegal bombing from his laptop were the actual way to stop that from happening.
What? Well, the real way that was the fucking deal that Obama worked out that already stopped it from happening before Trump wiped his ass with it.
The JCPOA, we had it since 2015. So naturally, we got Republican talking heads making post hoc rationales with copies of The Art of War on the shelf behind them, talking about the genius decoy moves by Trump. And yes, it looks like the rescheduled talks with Iran were a decoy, and the strike plan was already in the works before that. But the tweets on the World Wide Web, those were not, as it turns out, part of the top secret bombing raid. That's just an idiot who had a secret, and his nose started fucking bleeding, and he grabbed his phone from Tall Tyler and wrote something into Twitter while he was running down the hall with the phone before Tyler tackled him. One high-level military official who was involved with this told the New York Times that Trump was, quote, the biggest threat to OPSEC of the entire mission.
Well, the biggest one we didn't give a Playmobil phone instead. Isn't that right, Pete Hex?
And, of course, we also got some rationales from the vice president and czar of post-hockery, J.D. Vance. He explained that getting into military campaigns and regime change in the Middle East has been extremely stupid and tragic for, like, all of American history. But this time, we have a president who's super-duper smart to handle the admittedly extremely stupid plan. That was it. That was the end of the rationale, by the way.
Yeah, see, George W. Bush had to deal with bad intelligence, but Trump solved that problem by doing away with intelligence altogether. Because, lest we miss this amid the we obliterated, no we didn't debate, at this point, the literal opposite of an intelligence assessment is a Trump assessment.
Sure.
That's just how words work now.
So here's what Trump had to say about the operation last week. After claiming total obliteration of Iran's nuclear program, and then getting immediately contradicted by our own intelligence reports, like I said, Trump yelled at Pete Hegseth about the leak, and then Hegseth explained that it wasn't his fault and his only approved device is a soup can with a string. He applied for a second soup can, but he got denied for that second one. So that's when Trump decided to throw some shade at the lazy pilots who flew 37 hours nonstop with multiple midair refuelings and hit the targets.
Whatever. I did a whole Joe Rogan podcast. I was shitting and pissing myself the whole time. Nothing I say.
My favorite was when Karen Levitt came out and she said the set it back a few months assessment was made up, and then she said it was classified, which isn't something that we normally do to things that are made up. And then she threatened to sue CNN for publishing it.
She's insane. If you just like put her thoughts in order, it's just absolute craziness. Nothing makes sense. So when Trump got asked if the U.S. would attack Iran again if their nuclear program resumes, Trump said, sure, but it's gone for years. And then when he got asked, no, it's not, he said, he's game for more bombing, maybe, tee-hee. So, classic Sun Tzu, love that. He also said, exact quote, I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki, but
either.
That was essentially the same thing.
And I think I speak for all of us when I say that nothing disarms a nuclear threat like a nuclear threat.
Yeah,
right?
But his fucking aspiration that he's unable to achieve is to rise to the level of Harry Truman?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, the scary thing, like, Eli, you mentioned, nuclear threat versus nuclear threat. That is kind of how it works. So the problem is now the entire tool called diplomacy is ruined because we lied about diplomacy during fake diplomacy. And now Iran's best strategy is very clearly to secretly race toward a nuclear weapon like North Korea, if it wasn't already their strategy. And we're pretty sure they got tipped off by a tweet from our commander-in-chief, so they still have some enriched uranium. It's either that or Donald Trump is a grandmaster of non-Euclidean dimensional chess, and the dead doves were all part of the trick. And just to review, winning at chess in that metaphor is apparently scrapping a diplomatic deal with Iran that was made under Obama that included UN inspectors and was working, then making a big show of setting up a meeting to discuss a diplomatic deal that was going to be, well, almost identical to the one he scrapped, then watching Israel attack Iran and ruin the meeting, faking a new meeting, bombing Iran yourself, and then announcing you were secretly planning that the whole time. And now the official American foreign policy is the world's most terrifying carnival game called nuclear whack-a-mole, with radioactive moles popping up, and you got to blow them up with hammers that cost $2.2 billion each.
Jesus.
Yeah, but hey, at least we weren't paying for immigrants to stay in a hotel. Am I right? I mean,
what's the alternative?
Wasteful.
Jesus. And in Nobel Peace of Shit Prize news, there are a lot of things that Barack Obama had as president that Donald Trump desperately wishes he could have. A signature accomplishment, an approval rating above 50%, a penis that resembled a less diminutive Mario Kart character. But there's no possession of Obama's that he covets more than Obama's Nobel Peace Prize. Now, to be clear, Obama did nothing to earn that prize. He was awarded it for not being George W. Bush, and it's an award.
That was pretty good stuff. I'm also not George W.
Right, yeah, exactly. And you didn't oversee 8 full fucking years of war, yeah. But it's an award that he shares with such paragons of amity as Yasser Arafat, Elihu Root, and Henry fucking Kissinger. But damn it, does Trump want one of these, right? And that makes nominating him for one among the most cost-effective ways that sycophants can suck up to him, which we saw in force this week as he stumbled his way into the Israel-Iran conflict.
Well, I mean, he's no Henry Kissinger, but he's pretty close. Like maybe a bit more carpet bombing for the Peace Prize, and Trump's there. I don't know.
Don't give him ideas, man. So let's start at home. My home, that is, with my congressman, buddy, I don't need no grown-up named Carter. Carter is one of the clown car of Republicans hoping to unseat Senator John Ossoff in next year's midterm elections, and he knows that a Trump endorsement could go a long way towards securing him that job. I mean, look what it did for Herschel Walker.
Yeah, nobody tell Trump that he's been amazingly helpful in Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia elected a black guy and a Jewish guy to the U.S. Senate, basically for spite.
Really? Yeah. So during that brief period between Trump announcing the Israel-Iran ceasefire and both countries violating it, Carter rushed off a quick letter to the nominating committee in Oslo. After all, what says peace more than dropping bombs on a country you aren't at war with? In that letter, he bootlicked, quote, "Such a breakthrough demands both courage and clarity. President Trump demonstrated both, offering the world a rare glimpse of hope," end quote.
All right, let's be fair, though. If that's how you get the prize, I feel like BB Nets is getting a snub big time, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Heath. This is why I voted for you in the primary for mayor, because you support us. Support us.
I ranked you too.
So Carter is hardly alone in calling upon the committee to recognize Trump's belligerent peacemaking. Alabama Senator Katie Britt predicted a Trump win on Sean Hannity's show. Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno introduced a Senate resolution saying the committee should really give Trump the medal. Marco Rubio said, quote, "I know of no president probably in our modern history that has sought peace more than Donald Trump." And White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, damned if she was going to be out hyperbolized with the boss watching, said, quote, "No other president in history could have even dreamed of such a success."
Really?
End quote. Yeah, so take that.
Not one?
Fucking Jimmy Carter's half-formed unconscious memory and imagination chunks.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln was okay, but he got us into a war, y'all. A war. And so many black people died in that war.
They did.
Trump's a much better ally.
He's been saying it for years.
The black community of America.
Yeah. So that being said, there are a few former endorsers of Trump's Peace Prize that are starting to get cold feet. Pakistan had formally endorsed giving Trump the Peace Prize the week before last for his intervention because they couldn't afford to give him a fucking airplane. But no sooner did they hit send than he started dropping bombs on Iran, which led them to issue a statement condemning him for his, quote, "unprecedented escalation of tension and violence," end quote. So they haven't rescinded the endorsement for the Peace Prize. So those are weird things to have sitting next to each other on your desk.
They are.
Obviously.
Guys, he's feeling awful balmy these days. Maybe we don't poke him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just like,
And by the way, if Pakistan amends the Peace Prize endorsement with a never mind, they won't be the first. A Ukrainian lawmaker named Oleksandr Merezhko nominated Trump for the Peace Prize for all his talk about bringing an end to the Russian aggression there back in November. But last week, Merezhko withdrew that endorsement, saying that he had, quote, "lost any sort of faith and belief," end quote, that Trump could or would move the peace needle in the region, which seems like a remarkably late realization for a guy who tried to hold peace talks without a Ukrainian representative present back in fucking February.
Okay, listen up, Nobel Committee. You've got an opportunity for the greatest prank ever. Ooh. Tell Trump he got the award, let him walk up to the podium, and then give him a quiz at the last second. Just be like, show us Norway on this map right now. Where are we right now? on this map. Or you know what? Show us Iran. Whatever works. I don't know. Give him a quiz. And then like Jimmy Carter's ghost gets the prize.
Yeah.
Ooh, and the prize is Trump's soul. He just drags them down to hell with him. And I know what you're thinking. Eli, that doesn't make any sense. Why is Jimmy Carter in hell in your fiction? Great question. Here's my answer. Mixed fabrics. God's a stickler.
Yeah.
Thought of everything.
He is. A lot of polyester. No, but of course, we live in a hell dimension with a dark sense of humor, so as ridiculous as it is to suggest that a dude get a Peace Prize for dropping a few bombs on an already bombed country then saying no more bombs, he might actually get the fucking thing. According to at least one betting site, Trump is currently the front runner to take home that gold in October.
Come on.
Second place is now Greta Thunberg for, risking her life aboard a ship in a war zone to highlight the genocidal blockades of humanitarian aid going into Gaza. So it's not quite as good as impotently bombing the door to an Iranian nuclear site. Yeah, right, but it's still pretty good.
And in About a Boise news, a bar in Boise, Idaho hosted a hetero awesome fest this past weekend.
What?
And my friends, I know this is a big claim, but I'm about to stand by it. The event went exactly as it deserved to. So yeah, we are going to talk about it.
Okay, I'm assuming they nailed the first part of the fest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hetero.
They
Not so
actually
much
didn't.
awesome.
They didn't.
No,
Okay.
right. No, but hey, look, event planning is always at its best when you exclude LGBTQ people. Solid idea at the start, guys.
Right. So little background here. The founder of Hetero Awesome Fest is Mark Fitzpatrick, one of Heath's people, owner of the Old State Saloon and psychotic
Not bigot,
homophone.
Irish. He means
I
Irish.
meant Irish.
I don't know why I
mean-
said I'm a bigot maybe in that scenario. Also,
It's weird that
Heath, cut that?
you created the circles of that Venn diagram, which is confusing.
I
to me.
thought he meant hetero, so yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I meant too. Fuck. So slow.
I'm not
You're
straight.
so
Wait.
Irish against. You're so racist against the Irish. You're Irish.
That's right.
I'm keeping all this. No, don't.
Anyways, Mark has made headlines in the past for putting on Heterosexual Awareness Month at his bar, during which he held events that included straight couples receiving a 15% discount on Wednesdays and straight men, quote, dressed like heterosexual males, end quote, receiving a free draft beer on Hetero Male Monday.
Okay, sounds like a great spot. Even before an entire free Coors Light draft to start my Monday drinking in fucking Idaho. I actually checked out their site, and they offer food daily.
Oh,
by the
really?
way.
It's not just
Yeah, daily
Tuesdays
food.
and Thursdays.
And if you're wondering about the amount of seed oil, 0.
Oh.
Daily food, 0 seed oil. That's on the top of the landing
Jesus
page for their bar restaurant.
And remember, listeners, the people who think about how much they want to suck dick the least are the people who literally pay money to advertise how straight they are. Those people are the least gay.
Least gay. Right. Well, that's all been so successful that he decided to throw himself a festival. And according to local news, between 30 and 50 people showed up, making it a massive financial failure. But they didn't just lose money. No. They also got outsmarted. Quote,
They would almost have to.
at one point during Saturday's
A
lineup,
dove landed on the stage.
At one point during Saturday's lineup, musician Daniel Hamrick, who also performs at Idaho Renaissance festivals as Archer Flynn, was officially welcomed to the stage to perform, as seen in videos captured from the festival's live stream. Though Hamrick arrived in a baseball hat and button-up plaid shirt, he quickly changed costume on stage to an Army Ranger's tan beret, which he said was his, and removed his overshirt, revealing a t-shirt that read, "Keep Canyon County Queer," end quote.
Sorry, A, that's awesome. And B, I think we can do better. Eli, are you ready for a trip to Idaho?
Ew, no.
Well, right. Neither am I. Okay.
All right, well, just in case you're not sold, Eli, on that saloon, listen to this very satisfied customer.
Ooh.
Exact quote from a review that they chose to put on their front page. I want to be very clear. Exact words.
Uh-huh.
I only got shoots there. I'm pretty sure that was shots. But I'll tell you what, the bartenders know what they're doing. This place also has love music on occasion.
Love music.
Love music. They must have meant live, but they...
A lot of extra O's there. Just a lot of bonus O's.
I thought they meant like ballads, right?
When I first read it, I was like, okay, interesting tastes from this person.
Girl
who only
shit
like,
sometimes.
I only like shots of Jack, but they had love music. That was nice.
When that jukebox plays a moment like this, I'll tell you.
But I'll tell you what, that bartender knows how to pour Jack into a tiny glass. That guy is a mixologist.
But it actually gets better than that, right? So Fitzpatrick realizes he's been duped and runs on stage to take away Hamrick's microphone. But an attendee of the conference didn't know who Fitzpatrick was.
Oh my
thought
God.
he was a protester trying to interrupt the Straight Pride Festival and tackled him and punched him in the fucking face.
So good.
Or as Fitzpatrick told the local news, and again, I have to be clear, this is a real quote. I'm not making it up for comedic effect. Quote, "He wasn't aware of what was happening and thought I might have been a random guy pulling the mic. He was stopping me, thinking he was defending the fest. Just a misunderstanding from a good citizen who had never met me yet." End quote.
Okay, that's what we're doing forever now. We set up that situation everywhere, and we do so many righteous misunderstanding side tackles.
That's all we do.
That's all I want to do now.
Look, when you hold festivals for violent idiots, you got to expect a few violent idiots. We accidentally punch each other real hard a lot.
It was part of it, yeah. So
Gave him a second free Coors drink. No seed oil.
Failed, invaded, and punched in the face is exactly what I was manifesting for this event.
Yes,
Let's hope we see lots more of this in the future, and if not, I believe I still have 2 more wishes. I'll check with the team.
And finally tonight, we have a story about Matt Gaetz on an airplane. During a recent flight, the person sitting behind Matt was not a big fan. That person has a TikTok account called Tides of March with about 32,000 followers now. And her bio says, Black AF bi student midwife. And she made a now viral video of Matt's very embarrassing text conversation with his mom, during which Matt gets scolded by mom for not being respectful enough to Donald Trump.
Send your father a video of you spanking yourself before midnight or he'll do it for you. You understand?
That's almost what happens. So the video starts with Matt standing in the aisle, and he's clearly confused by how to operate the overhead compartment because he's a giant piece of shit. That tracks. And the caption says, POV, you're sitting behind Matt Gaetz, and he's texting his mommy. Then we see him scrolling through his conversation using enormous font size on his phone, by the way. Here's the first exchange. Mom, I hope you're back home. Matt, I am. You can see me on your flight tracker.
Yeah, so far this is every conversation with me and my mom, font size included, so...
If it was my mom, she'd have said something bigoted by then, probably.
Yeah.
So from there, mom starts worrying about her idiot son and gives some advice about his career.
Ibit.
And reminder, Gaetz was a shitty Nepo baby lawyer in northern Florida, then a congressman from northern Florida.
Yeah.
Then he had to resign when a congressional ethics report about a child sex trafficking scandal was about to get released. Trump pretended to nominate Gaetz for attorney general, but the morality of the Republican Party forced Trump to pull that nomination.
Whew.
So after being less qualified for a job than Pamela Jo Bondi, Gaetz got hired by the Christian right propaganda mill called One American News, or OAN. And apparently Gaetz was a bit critical of the attack on Iran while doing a segment with OAN last week. So with all that in mind, here's what mom said. Quote, don't be criticizing the president or his actions. He's trying to keep us safe. That's his job. MAGA will turn on you. You will lose your viewership. Your days in Congress are over. Practice of law? Let's not mess up the media game. From mom?
Yeah, she just come out swinging, didn't she? She's like, look, there are no jobs easier than congressman, and you managed to fuck that one up, so.
Right. And from there, the delightful vibes of mom trying to manage her idiot son continued, with Matt Gaetz responding in a snit the whole time. Here's the weirdest part for me.
Oh, is it that it literally never changed from being every convo I have with my mom? That was the weird part for me,
was it for you?
Keith.
Okay. Here's the thing for me. That conversation wasn't happening in real time. The TikTok was a recording of Matt Gaetz scrolling through an existing conversation with Mom. So apparently Matt was analyzing the debate with Mom, hoping to be ready for his follow-up snit debate when he sees her in person. And he's clearly going to lose that argument.
Yeah. Send her a couple of nature TikToks, Matt. That usually distracts her. You can get her on another subject.
Yeah. So bottom line, if you want people to respect your privacy, don't be Matt Gaetz.
Don't be
There
Matt
you go.
Gaetz. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to close it out. Thanks to No Lugeons, thanks to Eli Bosnick, and thanks to all the listeners who liked us and followed us on all the various internets. Please keep doing that, please keep listening, and please keep telling your friends. And if you find the naive stupidity of our giving away a free show business model to be oddly charming, you can send us gifts of money at patreon.com/skepticrat. Just like all the generous new donors, you will be complimented next time around. And whether or not you're feeling financially benevolent like those fine people, if you enjoyed our brand of whimsy and you'd like to hear more dick jokes free of charge, check out our brother and sister shows, The Scathing Atheist, GodAwfulMovies, D&D Minus, and Citation Needed, available in all the podcast places. We just have one last thing. Let's compliment that pianist. Special thanks to Ryan Slotnick of Evil Giraffes on Mars. He is the creator of the virtuosic musical stylings you heard today, which were used with permission. You should definitely check them out using the links we'll provide or by Googling the only band called Evil Giraffes on Mars. Until next time, catchphrase sign off. Preceding podcast was a production of Puzzle and the Thunderstorm LLC, copyright 2025, all rights reserved.